Good evening and welcome. Tonight, we're watching a quiet but consequential shift unfold in the Black Sea, one that may reshape the region far more than the headlines suggest. In recent weeks, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's visit to Turkey for talks with President Erdogan looked on the surface like standard diplomacy. But beneath it lies a recalibration of influence, security, and leverage. Turkey, along the bridge between East and West, now appears ready to assert a more decisive role where maritime rules, soft power, and strategy converge. A cruise ship incident that revealed larger dynamics. One of the earliest public signs of this changing atmosphere surfaced when a Russian cruise ship carrying hundreds of passengers was prevented from docking at Galataport in Istanbul. While on the surface this appeared to be a tourism inconvenience, it subtly reflected accumulating frustrations and reciprocal tensions. The ship eventually altered its route, but the incident highlighted how civilian mobility and maritime operations can quickly become entangled in political disputes. Just days earlier, a Turkish ferry had reportedly been delayed at a Russian port under the justification of extended inspections. Although such security procedures are not uncommon in high-risk environments, the situation contributed to perceptions of escalating mistrust. In this context, Turkey's decision to deny entry to the Russian cruise ship was seen by some analysts as a signal that Ankara was no longer willing to accept technical delays targeting Turkish vessels without a measured response. While both sides maintained official explanations grounded in security and port readiness, the episode demonstrated how rapidly routine maritime activity can become politicized when regional tensions increase. The Ismail incident and concerns about maritime safety. Further fueling Ankara's concerns was an attack on a Turkish-flagged tanker near the Ukrainian port of Ismail during a period of heightened fighting along nearby coastlines. Regardless of the intended target, the fact that a civilian commercial vessel operated by NATO country nationals was caught in the conflict zone deeply alarmed Turkish authorities. For Turkey, the security of commercial shipping is not merely an economic issue, it is tied directly to the stability of the Black Sea and the credibility of international maritime law. Ankara responded by reaffirming its expectation that all parties operating in or near conflict zones must prioritize the protection of non-combatant vessels. While Turkey avoided escalating its rhetoric, the incident contributed to Ankara's growing determination to play a more active role in safeguarding maritime routes, particularly those crucial for global grain and energy markets. The episode served as a reminder that the Black Sea is not just a geopolitical chessboard, but also a lifeline for millions who rely on its shipping corridors, the shadow fleet, and Turkey's leverage over maritime traffic. Amid these rising tensions, growing international scrutiny has fallen on what is commonly referred to as the shadow fleet, a large group of older or non-standard tankers used for transporting oil outside of conventional regulatory frameworks. These vessels often operate with limited insurance and minimal transparency, raising concerns about environmental risk and maritime safety. Turkey, which controls the Bosphorus and Dardanelles Straits under the Montreux Convention, plays a pivotal role in overseeing transit between the Black Sea and global markets. Analysts have speculated about how Turkey might respond if it were to intensify safety inspections or enforce stricter compliance rules on tankers deemed high risk. Even routine delays can affect shipping economics, and Turkey has repeatedly emphasized that environmental protection and navigational safety are its top priorities. Rather than framing this in confrontational terms, Ankara has presented its approach as a necessary measure to ensure that maritime traffic, especially oil transportation, does not endanger coastal populations or fragile waterways. In a region already experiencing war-related hazards, Turkey's regulatory authority has become an essential stabilizing factor. Energy independence and a new sense of confidence. One of the more transformative developments shaping Ankara's recent posture is its expanding energy diversification strategy. Over the past few years, Turkey has significantly increased its liquefied natural gas (LNG) capacity, signing long-term supply agreements with multiple global partners. The effect has been a gradual reduction of reliance on any single energy source or supplier. This shift has provided Ankara with greater flexibility and resilience in managing diplomatic relations during regional crises. By securing diversified energy options, Turkey has strengthened its ability to act autonomously, making decisions that prioritize its long-term security and economic interests. This new energy landscape has also amplified Turkey's role as a growing energy distribution hub, further enhancing its influence within both NATO and Eurasian energy corridors. While Ankara continues to maintain open channels with Moscow, it has simultaneously positioned itself to navigate the Black Sea crisis with a greater sense of strategic independence. Diplomatic ripples from the Crimea Platform Summit. A key diplomatic moment came during the Crimea Platform Summit held in September, when Turkey's representation reinforced its long-standing position on the importance of Ukraine's territorial integrity and the rights of Crimean Tatars. Although Turkey has consistently voiced support for Ukraine's internationally recognized border since 2014, its participation at the summit carried added weight given the current regional environment. The language used emphasized adherence to international law and highlighted the humanitarian dimension of the ongoing conflict. This message aligned with broader concerns shared across many nations represented at the summit, reflecting a widespread desire for a peaceful and just resolution. While Moscow expressed predictable disagreement with the summit's conclusions, the broader takeaway was that Ankara remains committed to a principled diplomatic stance while carefully managing its complex bilateral ties. The New York Declaration and coordinated international measures. Around the same period, a multi-nation declaration was released in New York outlining a strengthened approach to sanctions and oversight of maritime transport connected to the conflict. The declaration emphasized accountability for entities facilitating sanction evasion and highlighted the need for safer and more transparent maritime practices. It also expressed concerns over the use of unregulated fleets and called for consistent enforcement of international insurance and safety standards. Turkey's support for the declaration reflected its alignment with global expectations for responsible maritime behavior and reinforced its role as a guardian of the Straits. While the declaration was not aimed at provoking confrontation, it signaled an expanded international consensus on ensuring that sea-based trade complies with legal and safety norms. For Ankara, this provided additional diplomatic cover to enforce strict inspections and uphold environmental protections in its waterways. Changing realities in Crimea and the Black Sea. In the months that followed, independent satellite analyses and open-source military reports indicated significant shifts in the distribution of military assets in Crimea and broader Black Sea positions. Several analysts noted that some Russian military aircraft and naval elements appeared to be repositioned further inland, likely in response to evolving security concerns. While interpretations vary, the trend suggests that the Black Sea is becoming increasingly contested and unpredictable. Turkey, observing these changes, has continued to emphasize the need for de-escalation and renewed negotiations. Ankara's long-standing message is that sustainable peace cannot be achieved through military means alone. Its efforts to maintain open diplomatic channels, whether through grain corridor agreements, ceasefire discussions, or regional coordination initiatives, demonstrate its commitment to preventing further deterioration of stability in the Black Sea. Turkey's use of Montreux as a stabilizing tool. One of Ankara's most significant strategic assets remains its guardianship over the Turkish Straits. The Montreux Convention grants Turkey the authority to regulate naval passage during times of war or elevated tension, and since the early stages of the Ukraine conflict, Ankara has used this authority carefully and consistently. By restricting the transit of military vessels from warring parties, Turkey has played a critical role in preventing further militarization of the Black Sea. This measured approach has been praised by many international observers who view Montreux as a stabilizing force during a volatile period. Turkey has repeatedly reassured all sides that its implementation of Montreux is based solely on legal obligations and security considerations, not political favoritism. In doing so, Ankara has positioned itself as a trusted manager of one of the world's most strategically sensitive waterways, a region in transformation and Turkey's expanding role. Ultimately, the unfolding developments in the Black Sea reflect a broader transformation driven by war, shifting alliances, and the global re-evaluation of strategic resources and trade routes. Turkey's actions from enforcing Montreux to participating in multinational declarations signal its intention to be a stabilizing and moderating force rather than a passive observer. Its increasing energy independence, diplomatic flexibility, and maritime authority have given Ankara tools it did not possess a decade ago. Whether future negotiations take place in Istanbul or another neutral venue, Turkey has made clear that it seeks an outcome rooted in international law, regional cooperation, and sustainable peace. The journey toward that goal is far from over, but Ankara's recent moves show that it intends to shape, not simply witness the future of the Black Sea,